The Machinist. Trevor Resnick works as a machinist, but there's one problem: he hasn't slept properly in a year. Thanks to his extreme insomnia, he's become so thin he looks like he could slip through floor cracks. His life is bleak: a near-empty factory, a lonely apartment, and creepy hallucinations that feel like horror movie trailers playing in his brain 24/7. To feel human, he chats with a sweet diner waitress and visits a prostitute, but even that doesn't fix his sleep schedule. Throughout the film, Trevor is haunted by a mysterious co-worker named Ivan. This bald guy with sunglasses pops up everywhere: at work, in an old fishing photo, and driving a suspicious red Pontiac that seems to stalk Trevor like a nosy auntie. Naturally, we start thinking Ivan's plotting to ruin his life. Then comes the twist. Turns out, Ivan doesn't even exist. He's just a creation of Trevor's guilty conscience. A year ago, Trevor caused a hit-and-run that killed a boy. Unable to face it, he invented Ivan to blame instead. All the clues, the lighter, the reversed license plate, the creepy photo, point straight back to Trevor. In the end, Trevor isn't fighting an evil villain. He's fighting his own guilt and sleepless brain. His goal shifts from survival to confession and redemption. The Machinist plays with our minds, blending hallucinations with reality, and proves that the scariest monster is often just us, especially after pulling an all-nighter. Triangle. Jess is a single mom who feels guilty for being too harsh with her autistic son, Tommy. Hoping for a break, she joins her friends on a boating trip. But as luck would have it, a sudden storm flips their sailboat like an omelet. The survivors find an old ocean liner floating nearby and climb aboard, thinking they're saved. Instead, the place feels like the set of a haunted cruise commercial, completely deserted and eerily quiet. Early on, the movie sets up a conventional horror setup: creepy ghost ship, isolated characters, and the assumed presence of a hidden killer. The audience expects Jess and her friends to be running for their lives, but here comes the twist. The masked killer stalking them is actually Jess herself, an older version stuck in a never-ending time loop. Every time everyone dies, the loop resets. Multiple versions of Jess keep popping up, and each is forced to kill in the hope of surviving, or somehow returning home to her son. Suddenly, the story flips. Jess isn't fighting some crazy stranger. She's fighting herself, her guilt, her regrets, and her desperate wish to fix the past. The movie becomes about self-confrontation rather than escape. The twist hits hard because of clever clues: her keychain showing up repeatedly, mirrors reflecting her blood-written messages, and the myth of Sisyphus hinting at her endless punishment. Triangle proves sometimes your worst enemy is literally you. Moon Knight. After getting critically wounded by Arthur Harrow, Mark Spector suddenly wakes up in a spotless psychiatric hospital. Confused, he looks around and sees familiar faces everywhere: Layla, Harrow, even Khonshu, now acting as doctors and nurses. Imagine waking up, and your worst enemy is offering you meds. The place makes him wonder if his entire life as Moon Knight has been just a crazy dream. The story jumps between London streets, Egyptian ruins, and trippy dream worlds, following Mark and Stephen Grant. They're two completely different people stuck in the same body, both trying to deal with their messed up life under the control of Khonshu, the ancient moon god. For most of the series, viewers think Mark and Stephen are fighting a real supernatural enemy. Their goal seems simple: defeat Harrow and Amit, fix Mark's mind, and break free from Khonshu. Then comes the twist. In episode 4, it's revealed that the mental hospital might not even be real. Suddenly, Mark and all of us start questioning what's real and what's just in his head. And just when you think it's over, the finale reveals a third identity: Jake Lockley. He's cold, ruthless, and perfectly fine doing Khonshu's dirty work. This twist flips the story from an external battle to an intense inner war. All those blackouts, weird mirror reflections, and mysterious sarcophagi now make sense. Moon Knight proves that sometimes fighting ancient gods is easier than dealing with your own mind and your multiple personalities. A fight club. This story follows an unnamed office worker, played by Edward Norton, who can't sleep and feels like his life is as bland as plain toast. To feel something, he starts going to random support groups for illnesses he doesn't even have. It works for a while, until he meets Tyler Durden, played by Brad Pitt, a cool, wild soap salesman who looks like he's never had a boring day in his life. Together, they create Fight Club, where men gather to punch each other to forget their miserable lives. But it doesn't stop there. Their little club soon turns into Project Mayhem, a chaotic anti-consumerism group that wants to bring down society's rules. You know, just normal bestie activities. At first glance, viewers think Tyler is a real guy, the perfect rebellious friend helping the narrator escape his dull life. But then comes the twist. Tyler isn't real at all. He's actually a figment of the narrator's imagination, the fearless, reckless side of him that he wishes he could be. Suddenly, the story changes completely. It's no longer about fighting society, but about fighting himself. The enemy isn't greedy corporations, but his own broken mind. This twist lands so well because of sneaky clues throughout, Tyler popping up in quick flashes early on, them sharing the same briefcase, and odd lines like, "I know this because Tyler knows this." Fight Club proves that sometimes the biggest plot twist is realizing you've been punching yourself all along. Gone Girl. Gone Girl starts on Nick and Amy Dunn's 5th wedding anniversary in Missouri. But instead of cake and flowers, Nick comes home to find Amy missing and the kitchen looking like a low-budget horror set covered in blood. Soon, the media swarms, the police dig around, and everyone starts thinking the same thing. Nick probably killed his wife. The story sells the idea well early on. Nick acts weird and awkward, like someone hiding a dark secret. Plus, he's having an affair with a much younger student, which doesn't exactly scream loyal husband. Amy's diary paints him as an abusive man, making the audience even more certain that Nick is a murderer. But then comes the twist that flips the whole story. Turns out, Amy is alive and has staged her entire disappearance to frame Nick for her murder. She literally drained her own blood to leave behind evidence, faked pages of her diary, and hid out before returning dramatically, covered in someone else's blood. She even frames her ex-boyfriend Desi just to tie up her plan nicely with a big, evil bow. Suddenly, Nick is not the villain, but a helpless pawn, while Amy becomes this terrifying genius you definitely don't want to marry. The film goes from murder mystery to psychological chess game. This twist works so well because of small clues hidden throughout, her stage treasure hunt, money issues, and her creepy calmness. Planet of the Apes. George Taylor and his crew find themselves stranded on what appears to be an arid, lifeless planet. They assume they've landed somewhere deep in the cosmos, but the truth slowly begins to come to light. They discover a society ruled by talking apes, where humans are mute, dirty creatures used for labor and experiments. Imagine arriving on a new planet only to find out monkeys run the place and you're basically a pet. The audience thinks they're watching a classic sci-fi story. Brave humans fighting back against evil ape overlords to win their freedom or escape. Taylor is the typical tough hero here, trying to stay sane in a world where orangutans argue politics and gorillas run the army. But then comes the twist that punches everyone in the gut. Near the end, Taylor stumbles upon the half-buried Statue of Liberty. That's when it hits him, and us. This isn't some alien planet, it's Earth. A destroyed, post-apocalyptic Earth wrecked by nuclear war. Suddenly, the whole story flips. Taylor wasn't fighting aliens. He was facing the horrible truth of what humans did to themselves. His goal changes from escaping an alien world to dealing with the fact that his own species ruined everything. This twist lands so well because of small hints. Ape society weirdly copying human culture, ruined buildings that look familiar, and Taylor's offhand comments about space feeling endless. Planet of the Apes proves one thing. Sometimes the scariest monsters are us. The Prestige. In late Victorian London, two magicians, Robert Angier and Alfred Borden, are locked in a fierce rivalry. Both are obsessed with being the best. Like two kids fighting over who gets the last cookie, their feud heats up when Borden performs the Transported Man, a teleportation trick that looks so real it drives Angier crazy with jealousy. At first, viewers think Borden is either a genius who's figured out real teleportation or just cheating somehow. Meanwhile, Angier becomes obsessed, spying on Borden and even sabotaging his shows to find out the secret. Everyone assumes it's all clever illusions and sneaky stage mechanics. But then comes the jaw-dropping twist. Turns out, Borden isn't one person. He's actually twin brothers living as one identity, taking turns performing and living their shared life. That's how they pull off the teleportation trick so perfectly. Angier's solution is even wilder. He gets Tesla to build him a cloning machine. Every night, the machine creates a new Angier on stage, while the original gets drowned backstage. Basically, he kills himself every night for applause. Talk about commitment issues. Suddenly, their rivalry turns dark. Borden sacrifices a normal life, while Angier sacrifices his clones and a lot of water tanks. Heroes and villains blur, leaving us wondering who's truly worse. The twist works because of sneaky clues, mentions of doubles, Borden's shifting moods, all those identical hats, and Michael Caine's early line, "Are you watching closely?" The Prestige proves magic merely not just about tricks, it's about terrifying secrets too. Predestination. In Predestination, a time-traveling agent is on his final mission to catch the mysterious Fizzle Bomber, who's been terrorizing New York. Disguised as a bartender, he listens to a young writer known as the Unmarried Mother share their strange life story over drinks. To start with, it looks like your average sci-fi thriller, a time travel agent trying to stop a bomber. Jane, who changes into John, seems like the brave yet unlucky hero stuck in this twisted timeline. But then comes the mind-melting twist. Jane was born intersex and raised as a girl, but later transitioned into John after medical complications. John then grows up and, through time travel, becomes the bartender agent himself. But wait, it gets wilder. He also becomes the Fizzle Bomber he's been hunting all along. Basically, he is his own mother, father, agent, and enemy. It's like a family reunion where only one person shows up. Suddenly, the story isn't about stopping a bomber anymore. It's about confronting yourself, your identity, and a fate that traps you in an endless loop. The twist works so well because of tiny clues, hidden faces, confusing dialogues, and hints about fate and inevitability sprinkled throughout. Predestination shows that sometimes your worst enemy, biggest love, and entire family tree is just you. So if you ever think your life is complicated, remember, at least you're not your own mother and nemesis. And speaking of complicated, wait till you hear about fiction's most absurd wars. Because if time travel loops weren't wild enough, these fictional battles will make your head spin even faster, just from how ridiculously absurd these wars actually are.